This is the fatherhood experience. Turn it up, cause tonight you'll learn how to leave behind the average dad life. This the fatherhood experience. It's time to lead my family and become the father figure I deserve to be. The fatherhood experience.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fatherhood Experience, where we help dads become better dads. We are your hosts, Jason Priest and Zach Smith, and we have a fantastic guest for you guys today. Before I introduce him, I want to give a huge shout out to all you guys who continue to follow us on our mission. This is a purely value-driven show. We are not here to bore you. We're not here to run ads. We don't run ads on Facebook or social media or any of that. We're relying on you guys to help us spread the word. So if you know any dad in your life that could get value out of our show, all we do is ask you to spread the word. You guys are what helps us grow and what helps us make the impact in the lives of other fathers so that they can lead by example and we can turn this country around of the disaster that it's currently in. So with all that being said, with us today, I have, and this guy, you guys actually, you're going to get a taste of one of our fatherhood classes. He came on and did an awesome class for our fatherhood guys. And so we're going to bring some of that value to you guys today. And excuse me, with me today, or with, I keep saying me, Zach is here with us today.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Yeah, there you go. He's here, I promise. And any of you guys, I know a lot of you guys don't watch on video. So I just want to tell you, but if you do watch on video and you watch us on YouTube, you're going to see a beautiful yellow background. I am in my mother-in-law's jacuzzi room. As some of you guys know, I made the move. My family made the move from Dallas to San Antonio. We don't have a home right now, so we're living with my mother-in-law. So I am working out of a jacuzzi room with a pretty bright yellow wall back here. So enjoy if you watch on video. So with us today, I have Mr. Serban Mare. And Serban is a technology industry veteran, has accumulated nearly 2 decades of experience from technician to engineer to program manager. Despite spending 10 years pursuing the American dream, Serban eventually encountered burnout and a profound sense of dissatisfaction with both his work and his personal life. By adopting a growth mindset, Serban extinguished burnout and rediscovered his passion for work and life through new perspectives, tools, and techniques. Now, as a professional speaker, he empowers others to overcome stress and overwhelm, achieving success and fulfillment professionally and personally. So, obviously, with Serban's introduction, you guys are going to get a shit ton of value today. If you're stressed, you're burned out, you're overwhelmed with what's going on in today's world, Serban is here to help you. So, without further ado, Serban, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join Zach and I on another awesome episode of the Fatherhood Experience. How are you, man?
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me. Doing great.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's jam, dude. Let's dive right in. I know Zach and I both enjoyed, well, it doesn't really matter what Zach and I enjoy, but our guys in the fatherhood enjoyed the shit out of our class with you guys and your presentation. I know that a lot of men in general are experiencing a lot of emotional challenges and a lot of burnout and a lot of overwhelm with what's going on in the world today specifically. And so love to get some value out of you and provide that some of our audience today. So my very first question to you, man, is let's figure out how all this started, because obviously we gave you a little bit of a snapshot into how you got to be with us today. But I guess give us a little bit of a brief backstory so that we know kind of how you got here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first of all, this accent of mine that you're going to hear, it's not a Southern accent.
All good.
I came from Romania back in 2005. And all I wanted to do when I came here is live what I thought at that point was the American dream. So just pushed really hard for 10 years to do all these different things. The classical story that I heard growing up, when you come to America, you're having to finish some school, you have to get a corporate job where you have an ID card, you have to buy a home, save for retirement, start a family, and then just go on some vacations. And for 10 years, that's exactly what I did. Just constantly pushing myself to the point where I did achieve all of those things, only to realize that I wasn't satisfied. It was kind of interesting because pursuing them was fulfilling, but the moment I got them, it ended up not. And it was at that moment where I really struggled for, I don't even know, 2-3 years, I was just at a loss and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And I was, theoretically I was fine because everything was cool, but it wasn't anything fulfilling. And there's two types of burnouts that I talk about. One is where you're just disconnected from life. And there's the other one where now I'm emphasizing even more, is where you have so much to do that you wake up in the morning and you're already dead. So for me at that point, I was just completely disconnected. Like, even though I achieved the American dream, I was just a shell, just because it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was what other people told me that I should be doing. Right. So then that was the journey where I was so restless that I wanted something different and I didn't know what it was.
Dude, Serban, you pointed out something that's extreme. I've dealt with this myself. Look, the reality is this, dude. If you're anybody striving for anything great, anything above average, if mediocrity is not in your cards because you want to do something with your life, you will experience burnout. In some way, shape, or form. There's no ways around it. If you're an individual who never experiences any type of burnout, then you're an individual that's also not trying to do anything with your life except just pay the bills and go through the motions. But the people that we speak with want more out of life. That's the reality of what it is, right? Because the worst thing that you can do is just go with the motions and then realize that 20, 30 years down the line, you look back and you're like, what have I done? Like, literally, what have I done? I've done nothing. I've done nothing. So I love that you pointed out those two types of burnout, because I've experienced them myself, because I've also followed the footsteps of other individuals who have been successful. So I'm like, I guess this is the way to do it. And through failing consistently, I realized that's definitely not the way, dude. I've done the whole disconnected from life thing. I've done the whole overwhelmed, where it's all I can think about, where in the middle of the night when I wake up I wake up in a sweat, and it's the first thing. It's like the last thing I think about before I sleep. It wakes me up in the middle of the night. My heart rate's elevated. I'm starting to sweat. I can't go back to sleep. I'm like, oh, great. Now you're rolling around in bed for 1 to 2 hours. You finally get back to sleep, only to wake up 1 or 2 hours later. And it's the first thing you think about yet again. I think, honestly speaking, that at least in my world and in my experience, most people has dealt with the overwhelm because there's just so much to do. And again, that just comes with the territory when it comes to wanting to achieve great things, which is why achieving great things, such as a great physique, is so well respected. It's because you can't buy these things, man. You can't buy these things. So I'm glad you touched on those things, because I think many people listening, including ourselves here, have experienced this, dude. I think it's more common than most people realize, but it's not about experiencing it. It's about what the hell do you do when you experience it that will determine, am I going to be successful long-term, or am I going to just eventually throw in the towel?
Yeah, well said. And to me, it's also a mindset thing, where up until that point where I was just disconnected, I thought life should be in a certain way, and that's the blueprint that I was finding, that I was just following blindly. And then once I discovered personal development and the idea of a growth mindset, I really started asking myself, what is it that I want to do? And when you're dealing with overwhelm, most of the time you're doing a lot of things that don't bring you joy, that don't give you energy, right? So that amplifies that level of drainage that you have throughout your day, because all of the things that you're responsible for are not important to you. You just have to do them. And in order for us to not let that overwhelm, we have to shift our mindset and think about, what are the cool things that I want to do that would give me the energy to handle all the different responsibilities that we have in life?
Love it, man. I'll be honest with you, dude. I'm battling burnout right now, and I'm gonna throw it out there and be transparent.
We're humans too. Dude. We're humans too.
Be transparent as fuck, man. I'll be honest. Zach and I, we talk to a lot of guys with a lot of challenges and a lot of issues and a lot of struggles in their life. And over the last, let's say 6 months or so, we do a lot of deep men's work. And I'll be honest, man, when I got into this, I started off in the ICU, doing open heart surgery, critical care patients. And I was obviously a completely different environment than this. And then I got into health coaching. And the more that you get into the coaching space, the more that you realize, depending on what kind of coach you are, the more that you realize a lot of it is mindset and emotional challenges around coaching people, right? You got to get them out of their own way in a lot of situations. And I will say that over the last 6 months, man, spending time talking about so many dark things and talking about and trying to help guys get out of some really dark spots. It's taken a toll on my own mental health, and I'm having to. I had a few days where my family just moved from Dallas to San Antonio, as you and I discussed, and I've shut down, dude. There's been a few days now where I've just totally fucking shut down and really questioned my direction, and I've had a lot of self-reflection, and I feel like the time that I'm spending on the internet and at home working alone and not having any human contact. No, I don't get out of the house much, dude. The gym is about my only outlet, and then picking my kids up from daycare. And so I'm in a spot, dude. I'm in a spot right now. And I know the tools that I need to double down on and leverage to be able to get myself out of it. And that's what I'm doing. And so I think a lot of guys out there, when they get into a spot like that, if they don't have any experience dealing with mental health or dealing with personal growth and personal development and the challenges that come along with that, it can be a tough road to navigate when you don't know where to turn or who to turn to for help, or if you don't have any outlets. So I'd love to hear you shed some light on that.
It's kind of cool that you say that, because I feel you, especially in the last few years. I've really amplified all of the things that I want to do, and I got a very rewarding profession that I do in my day-to-day. And I can tell you, just like you, in the last not months, but in the last few weeks, there's so much work that I'm dealing with that it's starting to burn me out as well. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating because on one hand, I'm the burnout guy. I should not have to deal with this, but you said something that is awesome. And first thing that we have to do is have that self-awareness, right? You are cognizant that you are getting to that point. And this is the challenge that many people have, is that they're just on autopilot. They think that grinding and just going through it and waiting for that one vacation is going to help them, when in reality they end up on the vacation and they're even more stressed, because now they're thinking that they're taking time from dealing with all the things that they have to do, and they're even more stressed. So that self-awareness that you have, it's really cool. And that's the first step, because then there's a bunch of tools, right? And a lot of the things that create this burnout is comparison. Mm-hmm. We feel that we have to be to a certain standard, right? We have to live up to something that we put into ourselves, or we're looking on social media, we're looking and comparing ourselves with all these different people, and we're like, I should be doing more. Mm-hmm. But when you have that self-awareness, then you recognize that, hey, I'm falling into burnout. Let me take care of myself so that I don't do that.
Yeah.
I love that you said that you are experiencing burnout even as the burnout guy, because Jason and I very often say we're the fitness guys, but we don't always want to practice fitness. Listen, guys, like I said, you will experience burnout, you will experience some type of fatigue, and you will sometimes just want to be like, you know what, screw all this shit. I don't want to do this shit at all. It's super normal to experience these things. We are humans. There's nothing special about me, Jason, Serban, any of you. And I say that in the most respectful way, because what I'm saying is we all deal with the same shit, but it's not about the emotions you experience. It's about how you handle them. Just to reiterate that, because Serban just solidified my point by saying that, combined with how me and Jason always say, shit, half the time, let me call it what it is. Half the time, I don't want to go to the gym. I got to go to the gym today. You know what I want to do? I want to not. I want to just stay home. I want to put the TV on. I'll just kick back and relax. But guess what? I know what needs to be done in order for me to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. And the reality is, like I said, going back full circle, is that if I don't do the things that I know are going to be conducive to my goals, I will never have a chance at attaining them. So that's, again, the difference between an adult and a human, is that we have to practice the logical things that we know are going to help us win, versus just giving into our emotions, which is most people are doing nowadays. It's terrible. And when you succumb to your emotions, guess what? You experience that burnout, dude. Like you were saying earlier, overwhelm has to do with the things that, doing those things that don't bring you joy, but they kind of have to be done. So guess what? it feels like you're stuck between like a rock and a hard place, because you're like, wait, I have to do it, but it's also making me burned out. So I want you to like maybe talk about what you're talking about earlier when it comes to the perspective side of things, right? Because look, business sucks sometimes too, right? Fitness sucks sometimes. Like everybody, everything's gonna suck sometimes in some way, shape, or form. But how you perceive that and how you decide to interpret that is going to determine whether you continue or, like I said, throw in the flag, dude. Because if you are overwhelmed because you have to do the things that don't bring you joy, but you know you have to do it, but it's still not bringing you joy, you're getting into a negative feedback loop. So something's got to give, right? You're either going to quit or you're going to push through it. But why would you push through it if you hate it? So how does somebody like that deal with that, Serban? You said that you have to change your perspective in order to deal with it, man. So what does that look like?
Yeah, it's so there's a few points that you touched on that are great. One of them, the negative loop that we get into, it's really detrimental to our health. And
right.
if you were to have the perspective of, oh, here's another thing that I have to deal with, and there's another one. And if we look at challenges that come our way and we think of them as, oh, something that's going to crush me, it's going to be very difficult to have that strength and that mental capacity to deal with them. But I'm sure, Zach, you went through a lot of stuff in your lifetime, right? You deal with hard things. And
right.
if you take a step back and look at it, those hard things actually build you stronger, right? We're talking about the muscle. In order for the muscle to get bigger, you have to break it apart and then let it rest so that it grows bigger. And it's the same thing with all the different challenges that we face in our day. Am I looking at this as, it's something that I need to run away from, I need to avoid at any cost? Or am I looking at it as, okay, here's another thing that I can learn from and I can get better because it's going to make me stronger and because it's challenging.
So shifting it from like, I have to do this to I have the opportunity to, it's going to benefit, right? It's something that Jason and I talk about a lot, and we've heard from mentors of ours and people that we've learned from in the past, where it's not like life happens to you. That's a victim mentality. Mm-hmm. It's life happens for you. It's not, damn it, I have to go work out again. It's nice, I have the opportunity yet again to better myself, to become stronger, more fit, more healthy. So again, it's all perspective, right? Like, I think I shared this like many episodes ago. I don't even remember which episode, to be honest with you. We're like 250 or something like that. And I talked about how maybe Jason and I, like, let's pretend we're two different individuals, and one of us is more of a positive person, one of us is a negative person. Like, we both go out on a winter day. It's cold as hell, right? And I could go out and I could like take a breath of fresh air. I'm like, awesome, dude. The breath of fresh air feels amazing. The air is cool and crisp. Look at these awesome like fall colors on the leaves. And that's a person who's like focusing, their perspective is that of a positive one, who looks for the silver lining, the good within the bad, and all those things. And then there's the other person, goes outside. Shit, it is cold. This sucks. When is this freaking sun going to come out? Damn, this overcast is terrible. Look at all these damn leaves on the floor. I just cleaned this up last week. Right? We all do, just like I said, we all deal with the same emotions. We all deal with the same environments and the same circumstances, but it's how you go about perceiving that and how you think about it that's going to determine whether you actually do things that are going to be helpful or hurtful. And it starts with the thought process, man. So I love that we're taking the perspective approach in this conversation, because literally this game of life is just a mind game. That's really all it is. Jason, I think you're going to say something there. Go for it, man.
No, I was just going to talk about, the adversity and the challenges that we have to go through. If your perspective is everything there. And obviously I'm dealing with a bit of it myself right now, as I mentioned. And, we tell our guys all the time to double down on their own personal growth and personal development when they run into these challenging times. Right. And I think everybody deals with a little bit of mental health, the demons, the voices in our head at times, and it's all what we put into our brain. And when you're prepared for adversity and you come to embrace adversity, knowing that you got to do the hard shit when you don't want to do the hard shit. It's just like going to the damn gym, right? I don't want to go to the gym today either. I got to drive back to Dallas tonight, and my mother-in-law doesn't get home till 6. So that means I'm not in Dallas till 11 o'clock tonight, sleeping on a fucking floor again. And I'm pretty dead set that I'm going to the gym after our Apex call, because I want to get that 4th workout in. I have not worked out 4 times in a week in a long ass time. It's going to mean a lot to me. And so, I think knowing that I don't want to go to the gym, but if accomplishing that, I know will give me a a feeling of fulfillment, the damn workout's still going to suck, right? And so I think the more that we can prepare our minds for adversity, which is practicing adversity and not avoiding it, right? Doing the hard shit when you don't want to do the hard shit. Fitness is a great place to double down on. We got a couple of guys battling through it right now in the fatherhood. And, you know, the reality is doubling down on your own personal development, reading, working out, fueling your body properly, practicing gratitude, and doing the things you know are going to improve your mental health is what's ultimately going to get you out of the rut. And I think a lot of guys go wrong because they do try the avoidance, right? They try to avoid the problem, and all that does is compounds the problem and makes it worse. When at the end of the day, if you just did the hard shit at the beginning, you're at least going to feel a little bit better because you did the hard stuff. You got a sense of fulfillment, a sense of accomplishment. And I think that's a big tool for overcoming adversity and battling through it as it comes up more frequently in our lives, because it's not going away.
Let me pluck something out of what you just said, Jason, because it's really important. And you said many, many great things, but there's two items there that I think they're very important, because maybe some of your listeners would say, yes, it would be great to change my perspective, but I'm so deep into this rut that I don't see any way out. And it's when you're at that low, it's very difficult to see any kind of light. And there's two things that are important to get us a little bit closer to getting out of the rut. And the one thing that I recommend to everybody, and it's very difficult to do, even though it's basic. Early in the morning, when we wake up, the first thing that pops in our head is all the problems and all the challenges that we have to do. We are negative bias prone. Mm-hmm. And that sets us on the negative loop where it just amplifies throughout the day. If you want to change the way your attitude is in the morning, sitting down for 5 minutes, sipping on your coffee, not rushing, and just take 3 to 5 minutes and think about 4 things that happened to you the other day that you're grateful for. May that be that you just grabbed a healthy food. You were able to go on a walk for 15 minutes. You were able to connect with your wife, whatever it is from the past day. Having that gratitude in the morning, it really primes your brain to that positivity bias. And then it kind of sets the day on a positive attitude to where it can snowball into a different direction than if you would just wake up and be like, okay, I got a lot to do today. Let me just roll.
I love that, man. We talk about that a lot. Gratitude personally, that implementation of practicing gratitude on a day-to-day basis has literally been what has changed my life 180 degrees. And we will shout that from mountaintops to the day we die, because that is literally the most, like, single-handedly most effective way to change your perspective. Because you're right. We are risk-averse individuals, and we are negatively biased creatures as well at the same time. This is just the way that humans roll, man. That's the reality of what it is. But if you proactively try to focus on positive things, you will naturally start thinking in a positive manner. We talk about this all of the time. It's the proactive approach versus the reactive approach. Far too many individuals, they're just reactive individuals, man. And when you're reacting, what are you seeing? Like, what are you seeing everywhere? On social media, on the news, at the water cooler, as they say, at your job? It's always going to be negativity, man. There's a saying in the news where if it bleeds, it leads, dude, because they're looking for the most controversial headlines. They're looking for the most violent and crazy things that they can throw out there that's negative, because guess what? Those have far higher ratings than, hey, somebody helped mow this 98-year-old lady's lawn. You know, they don't put that stuff in the news because it doesn't grasp as many views, which converts into ad dollars, right? Because at the end of the day, you boil it down, it's all about the money. So it's the exposure. So that's why they do it. They don't do it because they want to keep us informed. They do it because it generates more money for them. But guess what? The byproduct of that is it just doubles down on humans' natural tendency to think in a negative manner. So it's actually super detrimental for our mental health for us to be reactive to those things. So like you said, I love that you do that, because that's something that Jason does. That's something that I do, and something that we highly encourage every single member of the fatherhood experience do every single morning, because that determines the trajectory of your day. If I start negatively, man, if I start behind the curve, it's very hard to get ahead of it thereafter, because now my mind's in one way versus the other. So proactivity versus reactivity, dude, I love that. Think about the things that are good in your life, and that will help you to identify even more of them down the line versus just being reactive and seeing all the negative shit and trying to get ahead of the curve thereafter. Why the hell would you make an already hard like climb significantly harder when all it takes is 3 to 5 minutes? It's that simple, really.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just thinking, I have a saying in my talk is protecting your energy, and that starts from the morning. And one of the things that will supercharge your energy instead of depleting it is having this gratitude practice. And in addition to that, really, Zach touched on it. It's eliminating what I call weapons of mass distraction. Like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, let me turn on this noise channel. Let me compare myself on social media. Let me see what my boss said so I can get angry. If you're able to just take that 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can, and not look at the distractions in your day and just start off with the gratitude, I think everybody would have such a higher chance of really amplifying and protecting their energy in the morning, which will permeate throughout the day. It's so important to protect our energy.
And I guess one thing.
Go ahead.
Jason, go ahead. Throw it in there, man. Throw it in there.
Well, you say protect your energy, and Zach and I talk a lot about protecting the fragile space between your ears, right? And I think what we feed our minds is just as important as what we feed our guts. And I think a lot of people, they don't recognize that. You get in these habits of what you just said, the aimlessly scrolling social, and one of our morning routine strategies for our guys is to block off that first little bit of time in the day to practice gratitude, to do a little deep breathing, to get a little bit of personal development reading in, right? Like maybe 5 pages of a leadership book or a habit building book, something to put some positivity in your brain, while meanwhile you're ignoring social emails, texts, and all that. So it's really twofold. You're eliminating negativity and you're putting in positivity, and this compound effect just in a few short days has a massive impact on a lot of our guys. And when you start to protect your energy, you start to protect your mind from the negative influences, which are always going to be there. It's a little bit easier to navigate, because then you're in a world of practicing this on a daily basis versus waiting till things kind of compound, right? Like if you wait, I use this analogy often. Like you can't work out 3 times a month and expect to get good results, right? Talk about meditation. You can't meditate once a month and think that it's going to somehow change your life. But when you start making these daily or weekly practices, i.e. the gratitude, which is massive for mindset, I think that's been hugely important in my journey, because it's very easy to get caught up in what you just said, scrolling social, looking at people in my space and being like, well, shit, man, it looks like they're a lot better off than I am. Why? I feel like I'm adding more value to somebody's life than they are with their cheap ass, fake ass shit, and they're crushing. Why am I not there? Right. And so it's very, you get these self-comparison is the biggest thief of joy kind of mentality. So I think that's hugely important is instilling these as daily habits. The gratitude thing is massive, dude. So I just wanted to shed some light on that. So go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I want to just add one thing, man, because we're saying like, hey, practice gratitude. Yeah, proactivity. Awesome. But the reality is you're not going to always want to do this. Just like Serban experienced burnout, just like me and Jason experienced burnout with the whole fitness side of things. I want to set some realistic expectations for you guys to understand and know that this shit is hard. Behavior modification, hard. Pattern disruption, hard. Remember, guys, you have to undo the years or potentially decades, depending how old you are, of detrimental behaviors, of a negative thought processes, of perception that is not serving you, that's hurtful to you. So remember, guys, this stuff takes time, dude, just like the whole fitness side of things. I've covered this before, but the research has shown that it takes about 56 to 66 days in order for you to build a habit, 16 to 18 months to make it a lifestyle, and 3 to 4 years for an identity shift. You cannot expect to live a lifetime of negativity and all of a sudden fix that within 3, 4, 5 months. Shit, it might take you 3, 4, 5 years. But the reality is you got to stick to it. And if you don't, guess what? You'll never attain it, man. But again, if you want to earn something that most people don't have. You got to do what most people won't, right? We all are very familiar with that quote in some way, in the variations of it. You just got to stick it out, man. But I want you guys to know, like, here's an example that I actually used on one of our coaching calls a few weeks back. So there's a Greek runner. Her name is Alexi Papas, and she was just having she's an Olympian runner. She does the 10,000 meters, and she was just training one day, and she was like, dude, I feel like shit. Like, this sucks. Told the coach, she's like, hey, look, coach, I'm just not feeling it. Maybe I should call it a day. And the coach goes, look, and I'll read the quote right here. He said, the Olympic coach, this is what he said to her. When you're chasing a dream or doing anything hard, you're meant to feel good a third of the time, okay a third of the time, and crappy a third of the time. If this ratio is roughly in that range, you're doing fine. So it's the law of thirds. And this is super, super true. Okay. This is very true. There are going to be moments of time where you feel highly motivated and like massive momentum to do things. You're like, I want to crush, I want to go hard. I'm going to do a double day. I'm going to eat all healthy stuff, whatever it may be. And then there's going to be days where you're like, okay, awesome. I'm just going to do this because it's kind of like my routine nowadays. And I know this is what's going to help me. And there's going to be days where you hate it. It's going to be the last thing you want to do. And this happens every single day. But again, as long as these ratios are kind of on par with the law of thirds, you're doing fine. It's super, super normal. Now, the reason why I wanted to cover this real fast is because people think that people like us, or we have some type of magical power where we can just control our thoughts and emotions at any given moment. No, like I said in the very beginning, we are susceptible to the same things. We just know how to do something productive with those feelings and how to overcome those things because we've been doing it for quite some time. So guys, the law of thirds, you're going to have to deal with this. Now, my point in bringing this up is when it comes to gratitude, when's the easiest time to practice gratitude? When you're feeling great, amazing, everything's on your side, the sky's the limit. That's how you're feeling. Momentum's on your side. And then you're going to have those days where the third of the time where you're like, uh-oh, shit's hitting the fan. I didn't get that promotion. You know what I mean? I'm not getting time with my kids. I'm working 60, 70 hours in my job. This kind of sucks. I have no time to go to the gym. I have to eat this stuff. I'm gaining a couple pounds. Oh no, what's happening? Like, there's going to be those times, but you have to maintain that practice of gratitude. You have to, because we've dealt with this like ourselves, like Jason, not only but ourselves, but like with clients as well, where when they feel like trash, it's easy to throw gratitude out the window. But that's actually the most important time to practice gratitude, because that will get you out of the funk if you just change the way that you're perceiving your life and what's happening in that moment. Remember, guys, it's easy to be thankful when everything's good. But when it's most important to be thankful and to express that and practice that is when shit feels bad, because you want to be the individual who can have a 99% shitty day, but because you have trained your mind to focus on the silver lining and that which is good in your life, that 1% of your day, you will find that silver lining and be like, today was a great day. There were a few mishaps that happened that didn't go my way, but today is a great day. That's what you want to be, the person that finds the good within the bad, and make sure that you double down on that gratitude when things are really, really, really hard, because when it's easy, it doesn't hold as much weight, it doesn't hold as much stock. It's not as impactful, I guess we can say here. So I wanted to just wrap that around and bring that to light for you guys, because I want to set some realistic expectations as what you will experience along the way. It is not easy, and it's normal to feel like shit. But when you feel like shit, it's twice as important to do what you're supposed to do to help you change your mind.
Love it. Do the hard shit when you don't want to do the hard shit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really what it is, man. It's about taking the behaviors and the patterns, right? That's really all it is.
It's easy to say that, and it's easy to explain that, but having a tactical approach is obviously the task at hand for most guys who are in a tough spot. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it's so important to get involved in a community or surround yourself with other guys or other people that are on a similar journey. We've all been there and been in groups, been part of groups that can rally around you when times get tough, can provide you that sense of community or brotherhood when you do fall into a rut, you get into a overwhelm, or you feel the burnout, and you have somebody to lean into. I will tell you that, when I went through my own physical transformation, I've told this story before on the podcast, I haven't been to a fucking spin class, dude, in 10 years, but it changed my whole perspective on my life. And it had nothing to do with the damn spin class. Like, it was just cardio, right? I can go get that anywhere. But I was accountable to a group of people that expected me to show up because they were all going through the shit with me. We were all fat trying to get fit. All right. And when Jason doesn't show up on a Tuesday and I come back on Wednesday and they're like, well, where the fuck were you yesterday? I was up here sweating my balls off. And my answer is, well, I just didn't feel like coming. You know, there's a little bit of ownership with that, right? There's a little bit of accountability that goes with that, because the fat dude that asked me why I didn't show up also didn't feel like coming, right? He also didn't want to be there, but he fucking got there because he knows what's waiting on the other side. More energy, less fat, and a better life, and everything that comes along with being less overweight, right? With losing the weight and feeling good about yourself. And so I think the brotherhood and the community component, which is why we're so proud of the culture we build in the Fatherhood, because these guys actually have a safe space, dude. It's one of those where, you know, and shit, even even the Fitness for Dads by Dads group, the $10 group, these guys are in there crushing and actually communicating with each other on a personal level, where it's like, it's just a Facebook group, but you feel some level of accountability, right? You feel like if you go in there and you're like, man, I'm struggling, what do you guys got for me? And you see five or six guys crushing their workouts, they're all posting their wins, they're doing well. It's like, all right, I know these guys are watching and they're going to pay attention to me because I'm struggling right now, because they all want to win too. They want to pay it forward. They want to give back to the community. And I think that community component, man, if you guys, anybody that's listening right now, if you're in a tough spot, whether you get into our world or get into some kind of men's group, do something to surround yourself with people that actually want to do better, that actually want to grow in life. Because one of the most toxic things that you could do is be a growth-minded individual surrounded by fixed-minded people. Because if you are, and that's the environment you're going to be in, your growth-minded mentality will vanish very quickly, being around the fixed-minded individuals who all they want to do is talk about how life sucks. All right. And so take note of that. This is a massively important tool to put in your belt. And it is one of the hardest tools to accomplish, because going out and finding a community or finding a group of positive people that will surround you, take you in and lift you up along the way is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Now, if you go and get involved in a group fitness class or something like that, maybe that's step one for you, but that's not necessarily the same as having a group of dudes to leverage who, you know, deep down inside are going through the same shit as you as a father.
That was good. I want to add exactly what you said at the end. Is a lot of people who are feeling overwhelmed, or they're at a loss. They think that they're the only ones who are in that position. And when you join these type of groups, like your guys' group, it really helps to see that, hey, everybody else is going through something similar that I am, and look at them grow. I can do it too. When we have that group and we have that peer that's willing to elevate us, we want to rise to their expectation.
Yep.
So I like what you said.
Yeah, dude, that, you know, it's like the air conditioning kind of analogy that I'm sure you guys have heard, but like, you want the room temperature. You guys all want to be that same temperature, right? Like if you got somebody that's hot and somebody that's cold, you know, it's not impacting the community in the same way as if everybody's on the same page, man. And you know, when you're there with the sole purpose of inspiring others to get better as you go through your own journey, man, it just creates an environment of winning where you almost have no chance to fail, because you know that if you do fall down, you've got somebody that you can lean on to pick you back up. And I think so many men out there are starving for those type of relationships in their lives. And it's why we place so much value on community, man. Like without it, dude, we wouldn't have a business without our culture and the community that we built. Literally, like if Zach and I were only doing one-on-one coaching and these guys didn't have that sense of connection, like we can make a business like that, but it's just like, it doesn't make sense for us when we know that the value is extremely high with one-on-one, but literally life-changing with the group component involved, because now they've got other guys that aren't so far ahead of them, right? Where Zach and I are miles ahead on the fitness side of things, but these guys over here are just getting started or have only been in it for a month or two. It's like, holy shit, these are my guys, right? And like, now we're going to all do the hard shit when we don't want to do the hard shit together, which there's something magical about that, right? Knowing that you guys are all doing it together, right? It's not that you're not alone in this journey.
You know what? One thing that's funny when I hear people say this is, you don't know what I'm going through. Fuck you mean I don't know what you're going through? I've been fat. Fuck are you talking about? Yeah, but no. I know what you're talking about, dude. Like, people act like they're so unique. Okay. People act like they're so unique. And look, I understand that people go through different things. People have different hurdles that they overcome, and not every single problem is going to be as bad or good as another one. I mean, I know no problem is good, but what I'm saying is some are worse than others, I guess we can say. But when people say, you don't know what I'm going through, there's two problems with that. First of all, you think that the world's against you and that nobody else has ever dealt with your problem. That's fucking false. There's 8 billion people on earth. There are millions of people who know what you're going through and are going through what you're going through, and even more who have been going or have went through what you're already going through. So don't isolate yourself that way, which is my second problem with that statement, is when you say you don't know what I'm going through, you're almost accepting defeat because you're not open to seeing what other communities and other individuals can do to help you out to work through that. So when you say you don't know what I'm going through, that's almost like a 1 foot out the door mentality.
It's victimhood, dude.
It's victimhood. Exactly. You don't know what I'm going through. It's like, yes, I do know what you're going through, dude. Oh, well, my wife cheated on me because blah, blah, blah. Okay, but why? Were you not a present father? Was she unattracted to you because you gained 120 pounds? Were you neglecting your children and not going, you were being what I call a sideline dad instead of being interactive with your kid? Because if that's what happened and it was because of your health went to shit, I do know what you're going through because my health was shit too. Because when we boil it all down to its simplest form, how you look and how you feel about yourself and your health is the foundation of anything and everything that is going to happen in your life, whether it's good or bad. When you neglect yourself and you neglect your health, you're neglecting your mindset too. So that's going to go in the toilet as well. And that's almost always the root of all these problems. It's because you think you're a unique individual with a unique problem when there's so many other people that have been through the same shit. Like Jason, like I said, we talked to hundreds of people, dude, hundreds of people. Our combined experience, we've talked to thousands of individuals, and every single person honestly has the same exact issue said in a different way with different nuances, different tweaks. But essentially, they're all the same 4, 5, 6 problems in reality. In the grand scheme of things, they're all the same thing when you boil it down. So I want you to know as a listener that I might not have experienced what you've experienced personally, but to some degree I have, and I can relate. And there is definitely power in community because I guarantee you that there is somebody in the community who can help you work through this with tactics that they've utilized. Or if they haven't figured it out, guess what? Accountability is right there where you guys can lean in on each other. The power of community is unlike anything else you'll ever have. Just like Jason said, dude, the thermostat thing, one person's hot, one person's cold. That means one person has to lower and one person has to heighten, which means one person wins and one person essentially loses. But when you surround yourself with other like-minded individuals, everybody just who's like, oh shit, I found the way up. They reach down to pull you up. Whereas most people in society only want to see you do so well until you start doing better than them. And all of a sudden they're envious. They're salty. They're like, now all of a sudden they only clap in public because it's the right thing to do, but they're talking shit behind closed doors. You got to surround yourself with other individuals who don't want the perception of elevating their life by stepping on your head and pushing you down, when in reality, they just try to drag your name through the mud and they didn't do a damn thing with their life. You need to surround yourself with other individuals who are in the trenches with you, because when they find a way out of that trench, the first thing that you're going to see is their hand reaching down to bring you up with them. Community is literally everything. It will make or break you. I promise you. But when you say that you don't know what I'm going through, you isolate yourself. You cannot do that, guys. That's a mindset that will never allow you to win. Even if you want to say that, you got to get out there and you have to surround yourself with other people who have been through it, because I promise you, we've all been there some way, shape, or form. We have that community. We've replicated the results many times, and we've had so many people create lifelong brotherhoods because of these common denominators. Guys, community is everything. That's my bottom line.
I concur. We talk about it often, man. There's the knowledge is everywhere. We don't lack for information. We lack for application. Mm-hmm. There is 1,000,001 ways to go about life, and there's no right or wrong way. You got to figure out what works best for you. And when you do, it's quite magical. And getting around other people that, that are going through it with you, dude, it's just a different component. It's a different element when you're waking up every day and you're not alone. And I think that that's where so many guys go wrong, is they try to go at it alone. and they dig themselves into an even darker hole, because when you go at it alone, especially when it comes to the weight loss side of things, man, if we're talking specifically about that, self-sabotage is so real, and it happens very quickly. When you don't get results and you don't see the numbers moving, and your clothes aren't fitting better after a week, you're going to self-sabotage, especially if you're quite a bit overweight and you've been struggling for a while. You've tried different diets, you've tried different programs and this and that. When you don't have community, it's very easy to throw in the towel. And when it comes to burnout, right? If you do have community, you can lean in. If you don't, you're burned out, and now you got nowhere to turn. And so I will double down on that, man. Like I think we're human beings, and we're meant to be social. And if you're not, and that's why I'm in the fucking rut that I am right now. I'm stuck in I work from home. I don't get out much, and I live my life online. And that's why I'm personally in a fucking bad spot right now, mentally. And I will work myself out of it. And the way that I'm going to do that is doubling down on my own personal development. Like I said, I'm committed to going to the fucking gym today, and I don't go into the gym on Fridays. Zach, you know damn good and well, I hadn't been to the gym on a Friday since you and I have been working together. And so today that changes, because I know I need it. And so yeah, dude, it's massively important, dude. I can't echo the brotherhood and the community piece enough.
There's one thing that I want to add, just because we threw so many things out there, and people might get even more overwhelmed, right? They might think, oh, now I have to do gratitude, now I have to meditate, now I have to get into this brotherhood, I have to do so many things. It gets even more overwhelming. And what I try to tell people who are at the beginning of the journey, just start slow, because you might have, let's use the weight analogy. You didn't get to be overweight overnight.
Nope.
Right? It took a long time for you to get to the place where you're stuck right now. And it's going to take some time for you to get back to where you're feeling confident, and you feel like you are in control. And all of it, don't try to do everything, right? Try to do just one thing. That's one of the thing that I think it helped you guys too, because I didn't start with meditating, working out, gratitude, all of these things. There's slowly that I added them into my day, and I've created system around it to where now I have the tools. Even when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel stressed out, I'm like, okay, I need to take a breath. I need to walk away from my work. I need to get out of this rut slowly. And that one thing is more important than doing everything.
Yeah,
you're right. Right. Check out. So there's a book that Jason and I refer to quite often whenever people come to wanting to do productive things. And the book is called The One Thing by Gary Keller. I actually read this book, and he talks about how he was a consultant for businesses, and he was trying to flip them around, right? Because they just weren't performing as well as they should have been. So I think he gave them, I forgot the exact numbers, but so don't quote me on this, but he gave them 10 tasks to do for the day. Shit wasn't changing. Okay, man, what the hell? All right, 5 things for the day. It wasn't changing. 3 things for the day. He said, you know what? Let me give you a single critical task that should be moving the needle forward as much as possible. So pretty much what would be the most important thing that will produce the best results in the shortest amount of time. So what he did was he gave every individual in that company one critical task to move the needle forward, and their production and productivity just went through the roof. So just like Serban said, to double down on that, he's absolutely right. Because one of the things that I often like to say is that the people who try to attempt the whole fitness side of things, when they try to bite off more than they can chew, that leads to overwhelm, and overwhelm leads to lack of adherence. Lack of adherence leads to lack of results. Lack of results leads to quitting. So again, get back into that negative feedback loop. So let's put it this way, guys. Oh no, I have to do too many things. Now I have to have gratitude journal. Now I have to do meditation. Now I have to start going to the gym. Now I have to make healthier food choices. Now I have to sleep on time. That's 5 things that I just mentioned right there. Going back to what I was saying with the stats in regards to how long it takes to create a habit, it takes about 66 days. If there are 365 days in a year, and it takes 66 days for you to build a habit, you can actually create 5.5 productive habits within a year if you just stack one thing on top of another every 66 days. So if you're one of those people who need to have bite-sized pieces in terms of a practical application to build these productive habits, there's your answer. Don't start with everything. Just start with something, one thing. Whatever it is that you identify is going to move the needle forward. And I would highly suggest it's probably going to be the gratitude, because remember, everything starts in the mind. If you can implement that first, do it for 66 days, and then ask yourself, what's the next thing I can do on top of this? You're doing it in bite-sized pieces. It will not lead to overwhelm, and you will build massive momentum and put yourself into a positive feedback loop versus the other way around where you get overwhelmed and you want to just throw in the towel. So guys, you can literally solidify 5 solid habits. I say 5.5, 5.5. I'm going to round down 5 solid habits within 1 calendar year. I want you to think about that for a second here, because 5 is a lot. If you consistently go to the gym, if you make better food choices, if you practice gratitude, if you practice, well, I would say stress management techniques, but I guess we'd call that gratitude. So I won't even count that. But let's say that you sleep on time. If you just take more time out of your day to spend quality time with your wife and kids, that's 5 things you can do right there that will completely change the trajectory of your life, your thought process, and how you hold yourself and maintain yourself and your confidence level and everything. I promise you, your world will change. Today, at least when we're recording this, it is June 2nd, 2023. And I promise you, if you start right now, you can look back on June 2nd, 2024, and your life will be completely different. Take notes of where you are right now and where you will be if you implement this starting today. The easiest approach ever. I just gave it to you. There's no reason to not do it anymore.
I don't think there's a better place to wrap, dude. I think this is a good place to close shop. I will tell you that we live in an immediate gratification society, and until you can step back and realize what Zach just said is really the only way to go about it. I can't tell you how many times we've seen guys try the crash, the 6 weeks to 6-pack abs, and the try to do everything all at once. And you know, Serban alluded to this earlier, that you didn't gain the weight overnight. You certainly aren't going to lose it overnight. And until you can break away from the immediate gratification thought process and actually embrace this as a lifelong journey, because guys, remember, it's not a race to get the weight off. It's a race to get started is really all it is, because this shit never ends. You got to keep fucking showing up. You got to keep going to the gym. You got to keep eating healthy if you want to live your best life. So I want to give you an opportunity to share where our listeners can connect with you, Serban. Tell us where we can find more about you, find out more about you, any websites, any social links. Where can they learn more about Serban?
They can go either on LinkedIn or my website, Serban, Mareasser. Let me rephrase it: Serbanmarea. Instagram or my website. They can email me at I have the email on my website, and if they are struggling with burnout, I'm glad to help.
Love it, dude. Well, Zach and I both truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to add the value that you did to our audience today. And remember, guys, we didn't run a single ad. You didn't hear Zach or I promote any fucking product that we won't use. We're not here to waste your time. We're here to give you massive amounts of value. And if you got any value today, we made you laugh, we made you think, we gave you a golden nugget that you're gonna go implement right now, please just share the show with one dad in your life who you know would get the same value you got out of our episode today. Remember, today's Momentum Monday. Get out, make moves, crush it this week, and we'll see you in next week's episode. You guys have a fantastic week. Take care.